Hey, party people! It's Julia Winston, and welcome to this edition of Talking to Pioneers in Business about what God is saying. So, I am coming to you from the car rider line as I am waiting for my children to get out of school. So, the good news is because I'm actually doing something like this, I will be a lot briefer than I normally am. So, if you're coming in, say hey, let me know where you're coming from, and um, I I'll say hey back. Off. Don't forget, you can ask comments and I mean, uh, write comments, ask questions, and all of that good stuff. So I titled this one, about that time I listened to a coach over God. And as business owners, okay, so now for those of you who are new to what I'm talking about, just a reminder, this is my disclaimer, okay? I speak to pioneers in business who hear the voice of God and God is calling you to do something new. And so my main message is the pioneer's path is different. Your path is different. But if you don't know your path is different, then you are going to look at the events of your journey with suspicion, with neglect, and even with misunderstanding because you don't know that you're different. And so here's my disclaimer, I'm talking to pioneers. I am not, and what I'm saying, what I'm about to say, this is in no way an indictment on coaches, mentors, or advisors. It's not. But you have to understand something about the process of pioneering. All right. So I just want to tell them myself and what had happened to me. Okay. So what had happened was I was with a coach at a time because I do invest in myself and I believe in coaching. I believe in mentoring. I believe in getting advice. I believe in investing in the rooms to be at the places. I believe in all of that stuff. It's very important. What you'll have to know, Pioneer, is that at some point in your journey, God is going to tell you something that is different than what your coach, mentor, or advisors say at some point. It happens to everyone, right? He's going to tell you something different, and the question is, what are you going to do with that? So in business, I was in this one particular program, and we were working on the stuff that you're supposed to be working on, like traditional sales modules and sales tactics and sales tools and things of that nature, right? And so I was for working on my sales system, and I was working with that coach because they had experience in that and they were telling me about what they were doing and guiding me into the thing that I said I wanted to do. And in the middle of being mentored by this coach God told me to invest in the middle of setting up the system that would work for my business model, in the middle of that, right? I'm having a conversation with the Lord because we talk all the time, and He gives me a different way to do my sales, and I was like, but this is not what I have been working on. I have been working on this page. I have been working on this copy. I've been working on X, Y, and Z. And He gave me a different way of engaging people in the sales process. Now, my little pioneer heart was completely excited about it because I was like, oh my gosh, this is new, this is different. But what had happened was, because it was new and different, and my mentor and coach at the time was telling me something that was tried and true, I didn't trust what I heard from God because it was new. Can anybody relate? I didn't trust what I heard from God because it was new. I didn't hear anybody else talking about this. I didn't hear any other. It wasn't mainstream. If it is being done, it's being done in a way, in places that I don't know about. I don't have access to. And so because it was new to me, I didn't trust the voice of the Lord when He told me to sell this way. And so let me tell you what I did. I was like, okay, God, all right, so you're gonna tell me to do this. Okay. Well, I'm gonna test it over here. I'm gonna test it a little bit. I'm gonna test it a little bit and see if it works. And y'all, can I tell you, like, I wish, look, like, this is the part where you're like, oh my gosh, it worked 100% and it was fantastic and it was flourishing. But here's what I need you to know as a pioneer: when God tells you to do something, it is very regular and normal in your development process to be skeptical of it at first. Even to the point where you're like, God, no one is saying doing this. And honestly, now I'm just gonna tell on myself there because some of you, you're not ready to be dishonest with yourself yet. So borrow my honesty and see yourself in it. where you get to the point where you're like, God, you're telling me to do something new, right? But um, I'm gonna do a little bit. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But if it don't work, can we please move on? Like, can we please move on? Because you keep telling me to do stuff. I'm in the middle of a tried and true system. I'm in the middle of setting up the steps. I'm in the middle of doing all that. So if this don't work, can we just go back to doing the thing that I was already in the middle of, right? It's like when Jesus was on the way to Jairus' daughter's house and the woman touched him with the issue of blood. She interrupted the flow. Was like, what you doing, God? All right. So this is what I did. I said, okay. It wouldn't leave me alone. I said, okay. The next sales call I get, I will do this process that you told me. The next sales call I get, I will do this process that you told me. And I did. And I actually and I got the sale, closed the sale, and I did a little bit more and I did a little bit more. And I was like, oh, okay, well maybe this works. But here's the problem. So as I reflected upon that, now this was years ago, as I reflected upon that, I was like, Lord, why didn't that work more? Why didn't that work more? He said, because you were trying to be sneaky about it, because you didn't go all in. I was like, what do you mean, God? He was like, because you did not want you didn't want your coach and mentor at the time, you didn't want them to know that you were doing this. So you hid it. You hid the thing that I told you because you didn't want the people who were giving you the great advice, the people who I told you to invest the money in, you didn't want them to know that you were doing this. And so you hid it. So you were doing the thing, but you were hiding while you were doing it. And I said, man, God, like, well, what would happen if I didn't hide? What would happen if I went all in? Right? What would happen? And so I say that to you because as a part of your development as a pioneer, there will come a time, there is a stage of your pioneer development called abandonment. And in the abandonment stage of your pioneer development, you will have to abandon some things that are so critical, some things that are benchmarks. We love this, especially in corporate speak, right? We love benchmarks. We love standards. We love guideposts. We love those things that are tried and true. And I love them too, right? Like I am developing, like, though I'm taking the time to develop this pioneer development pathway from evidence and research based methodologies in both leadership development, psychology, and business, right? So I love evidence based. I love research based. But here's what you need to know: there will be times that God will tell you to buck the conventional research. He will tell you to not do something that is tried and true. Why is He telling you that? Because He is developing your muscle as a pioneer. Pioneers have to go to the places that other people won't go. And sometimes you think, oh, that place is like, we always want to go to Africa, or we want to go to the jungles, or we want to go someplace like that. Sometimes that place God is telling you to go is a mindset that you're not that is different from what other people are saying, and you have to be okay with that. In fact, the reason I'm so passionate about this is because it's a normal part of your development. And I'm gonna say this to y'all too: you weren't being disobedient, you weren't being double-minded, you were in process and you were in development. You were in process and you were in development. So I titled this about that time. About that time I listened to a coach over God, because I was like, Lord, okay, but this coach, this mentor, this advisor, they have the success that I'm going after, right? And people say things like success leaves clues, and just do, like, do the things. And I was like, and I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. But here's what I know: in the life of a pioneer, nobody is talking about when God says do something else, and you're like, well, what do I do when God says do something else? How do I not get caught up in questioning whether or not I'm hearing God? Because you already know you're God, right? How do I get caught up in doubting whether or not I have the authority to do this? Who am I when I'm trying to reach a level of success to not follow the people who are already at the level of success that I want to be at when it comes to whatever goal I'm going after, right? And that is very common. That is very common in the development journey of entrepreneurs. I'm sorry, in the development journey of pioneers. So I can now in the chat, if you're writing this, right? If you're watching this, how many of you have God told you to do something different than what your advisors were telling you, and you struggled with it because you weren't sure, right? You were trying to discern, is this the voice of God? or not? Should I do this or not? How many of you have experienced that? Okay. And I'm here to tell you that is a very normal part of your development as a pioneer, especially a pioneer in business. Because what is God saying? What is God saying? Right? The way he stepped here's why I love him. Okay. The way he speaks to you in developing your confidence. What is the whole point? The whole point is to develop your confidence and to go to and chart the territory that you're supposed to chart. The whole point is for you to get out there and do the thing that he's called you to do. But if you do not learn to listen to him in the way that he's speaking to you, understand the patterns and the principles that he's already using in your life, then you will forever feel frustrated. You will feel like you're double minded. You will feel like you're doubting. You will feel like you are taking 4 steps forward and 6 steps back all the time. When in truth, you really aren't, right? I work with so many. Ooh, hang on. Curb. Don't hit it. I work with so many pioneering entrepreneurs who the biggest issue they have is not that they got an idea from God. The biggest issue that they have is they don't have enough confidence in themselves to implement what God said. Right? And that is going to be important. One of my videos before was talking about how obedience is crippling the pioneer. The obedience is important and it gives you the collateral, right? To step out. Like God will teach you. Jesus learned obedience by what he suffered. And we talked about in that video that suffering wasn't necessarily this terrible, it wasn't like um, horrible stuff. Anywho, Jesus learned obedience in what he suffered. I can't get past this person, so I'm just going to pause. And there we go. We're moving. And now I get to wait patiently for my child. Hallelujah. So sorry, real life happening. Yeah. So in your development journey, this is going to be a point where you are going to have to go inward, hear God, and discern what he's saying. There are times, and I'm going to help you. I want to help you. I want to give you a phrase because when people say things to you like, hey, I get what you're saying, but if you just do this, you'll have this particular success and all the other stuff. And what you need to be confident enough to say is like, I hear what you're saying, but for where I am, that's not the right solution for me. All right. This is where, you need support in understanding how that works. How does that come across in no matter what you're doing, no matter if you're trying to meet your first million or you're trying to meet your next million, right? You are going to have this. So, anyway, it is a proven path in the pioneer's journey. So, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Like, you're going to be experiencing something different. And at this point, it's not about the experiences that you experience. It's about making sure that you are interpreting the experiences the way God intended you to learn them. He's giving you these lessons. And so we have to make sure that we are not just automatically assuming having some mindsets about what other people say that would that was true for them and could have been true for you at a different point in your life. Let's just be real. So I'm not here saying that coaches aren't great. I'm not here saying mentors and advisors aren't fantastic, because I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a mentor, I'm an advisor. So I understand the need for those, but I'm just letting you know, if you had a space where they don't have anything for you and you're wondering, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? Am I doing this? Am I hearing God? The answer is it could be that you're on a pioneer development journey. And if my posts about Hey Pioneer is ringing to you, then you're the reason why. Because there are not enough people talking about this. There's not enough people talking about the way you develop as a pioneer. Okay. The point is to train you to hear how God is talking to you about the industry that you're called to, right? So that you can do the thing that He wants you to do. All right. I have to go. Kids are going every which way, and so I have to make sure. Please don't back up, sir, and hit me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dodge Caravan, for not hitting me. Aren't you glad the Dodge Caravan didn't hit me? All right. So, what are your thoughts on that? Right. And I will. Yeah, I want to hear them. So let me know. Until next time. Bye, y'all.